Here, it's that falling into debt can happen to anyone. Luckily, I heard about the ISI, the Insolvency Service of Ireland. Their professional advisors can help you restructure or even write off your debt. The first thing they said to me was, every debt problem has a solution. I can still feel the relief. So if you're worried, visit their website backontrack.ie or free text Get Help to 50015.
The ISI. Together, we'll get you back on track.
More than 2,900 people develop bowel cancer every year in Ireland. The Marie Keating Foundation is urging anyone with concerns to talk to your GP. If you have unexplained weight loss, a change in normal bowel habits, blood in your stool or pain in your abdomen, please see your GP. When caught early, bowel cancer is very curable. For more, visit mariekeating.ie. Kindly supported by Servier Laboratories Ireland.
Here at Eurocycleseurobaby.com, we hope you and your family are keeping safe. We wanted to let you know we're still here for all things bike and baby. Our stores on the Long Mile Road and Swords are open 7 days a week for all your essential needs. For bikes, prams, cots, high chairs and more, you can also shop safely from home. Check out the range and buy online at Eurocycleseurobaby.com.
Shoppers across Ireland believe in the SuperValu own brand range. They get really low prices across thousands of products, like SuperValu Easy Cook long grain rice 1 kilo, only €1.19, and SuperValu chopped tomatoes 400 gram tin, only 45 cent. SuperValu believe in low prices. To help us all keep safe, please continue to adhere to our safety guidelines in store.
Football on Off the Ball
With Paddy Power. Only the cream of the crop pick up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Mac Joe Molloy with you this evening. So Serbia against Ireland on Wednesday. We'll have live commentary for you here on Off the Ball. It's a 7:45 kickoff, the first step on the road to World Cup 2022. It'll be followed by Saturday. It's Luxembourg in Dublin, and then the following Tuesday, which is tomorrow week, we'll have Qatar against Ireland in a friendly. So Ireland's group, lest you need reminding, Group A, it has Portugal, it has Serbia, it has Azerbaijan, and it has Luxembourg. Now, the Serbia manager, former Yugoslav captain Dragan Stojkovic, it's his first game in charge. He's been speaking about the Ireland team and how he sees things going. He says, this is a difficult group. I'm not so crazy as to say our opponents, Ireland, have no clue. They do. Ireland can be uncomfortable to play against, but I can't accept that they can play better than us. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent. I would think old Dragon thinks they're in with a chance on Wednesday.
So, Joe, I mean, they've got a double header, you see, so it's Portugal up next as well. I've been sort of in the Irish zone for the whole preparations of this game, so I've sort of been doing a little listening to some Serbian stuff to see what they're variously saying, and the tone of the discussion is in line with sort of that there. It's like so they're looking at a week with like Ireland at home and then Portugal at home, and very fearful of Portugal. Not so much, not so fearful of Ireland. So
yeah,
pin that stuff on the dressing room wall. You know, pin those quotes up somewhere where we can see them. Get at them.
In fairness, Dragon is saying we don't have no clue. He's saying we have some clue. So I think, you know.
Well, that's qualified praise, isn't it? Really,
it is,
yeah. We'll take that. Not in Ireland, not clueless, says Serbia manager.
The injury list ever expanding for Stephen Kenny. So Caoimhín Kelleher added to it. Darren Randolph obviously on it. Mark Travers, who's played twice for Ireland against New Zealand and Bulgaria in friendlies back in 2019, and now likely to start. So the likes of James McCarthy gone, John Egan gone, Conor Hourihane gone as well now. Callum O'Dowda, Kevin Long, and interestingly, James McLean, who's been adamant really all the way along, Dan, that he will be fit. Michael O'Neill, his manager at Stoke, says, well, I don't think he'll be fit. I'm kind of surprised he's in the squad, to be honest. So that's about where we are. 5 of those involved in maybe Ireland's best performance under Kenny against Slovakia, and presumably what he sees as his best team. 5 of those out injured. Yeah,
no, the attrition rate from that game has been high. Losing kind of Hourihane at the weekend is brutal, really, just because he's one of those who actually has been playing reasonably well, you know, at Swansea since he's gone on loan. He's Matt Sharp, and you know, the list of sort of foreign players is small. Aaron Connolly has made it. He was ruled out at one stage, or seemed to be out of the equation at one stage. He would have been in the team for Slovakia if it wasn't for flight issues, which we don't need to go back over. Everyone COVID free today, by the way. That's the good news, you know. But unfortunately, they haven't avoided injuries. So, I mean, yeah, like the Kelleher situation would be interesting to see him play for Randolph. Now Travers gets dropped in there, although he has been dropped in before to a big Premier League game with fans there for Bournemouth against Spurs, and he handled it. So, it's not necessarily the most nerve-wracking thing he'll face playing in closed doors, albeit, the nation is watching. But yeah, there is obviously, listen, there's been a litany of issues. You can't really avoid the fact that there's been issues. And certainly, I'd say in January, if you had one discussion about this game, in fact, we had loads of discussions probably about this game in some shape or form, and probably would have said countless times, just once they can avoid injuries or mishaps in the build up to it. And I'd say if you sat down and worked out a plan in January for how you might approach this game, I'm sure some of those players you mentioned there, I'm certain some of those players you mentioned there would have been very much central to it. So they're working off a narrow enough time frame to try and get this right. And even between the time that the squad was named, like Stephen Kenny left it very late to name the squad. He named it on Thursday. I think that was to avoid the situation where you're sort of calling in players at the last minute. But I'd say even then, his likely 11 has obviously been changed by weekend events.
Given that the pre-Christmas period consisted of 7 games without a goal, probably not what everybody wants to hear, but Stephen Kenny would bite your hand off for a 0-0 draw now, beat Luxembourg and get out of here with 4 points. That's what we're looking at, isn't it?
Oh, listen, yeah, I think so. And no matter what he says, and it's not it wouldn't be in his mindset to go looking for a 0-0 draw. But if that happened to be a consequence of what happened, if you, as Mick McCarthy would say, if you offered me that now, if you offered him 0-0 and say you don't have to go there, for all that the official answer I think would be, of course, no, we believe we can win. We want to go and win. That would be the answer. Pragmatically, of course, they'd take that. I think very much so, and get the job done against Luxembourg. Which, interestingly, there seems to be a bit of respect for them. Even listening to the Serbs, my Serbian chat I was listening to earlier on, Luxembourg are improving. So maybe it's not a foregone conclusion. Ireland just stroll to the Aviva and take those points on Saturday. So I think, yeah, if you're offered 4 points, and then weirdly the pattern, the flow of this group is that you take your 4 points if you can get them, and then you wait 6 months or 5.5 months until the next games. So it's like you try and put this window into like a pattern, like there's an improvement, there's momentum and all this, but it's 5 months, 6 months till the next games.
Yeah.
So all the players could be in completely different positions. Now then you do have a situation where September, October, November you have a serious run of games. So in some respects, does that back up the view that you approach these games in isolation, do what you have to do to get through it, and then try and be in a good place, a better place come the autumn to really hit that finishing stretch with a bit of something coherent that's building towards something. It's a tough one. It's really tough.
On the who's going to score a goal situation, just looking at where we are, and I should have added Adam Ida to the list of injuries as well.
Yes, yeah.
Callum Robinson is in the squad of West Brom, obviously. Aaron Connolly in, Shane Long, James Collins of Luton Town, and Troy Parrott's in there as well of Ipswich Town at the moment, though I think Stephen Kenny said he was unlikely to be pitched in, Troy Parrott. I was looking, Dan, pre-show, respective form lines. Aaron Connolly, his last game was 4 weeks ago, so he won't be razor sharp. He has scored twice this season against Wolves and Newcastle. So 2 goals in 18 games for Connolly. Ronan Curtis, one of our top scorers at club level, although it is for Portsmouth in League One. He has scored 10 in 42. Although for Ronan Curtis, across his last 22 games, 2 goals. Callum Robinson, back in September when he scored 2 at Stamford Bridge, we thought, goodness me, this is great, he might kick on. Although his last Premier League appearance, let alone goal, his last Premier League appearance was the 2nd of February. James Collins of Luton, he did play at the weekend. His last goal was February. He has scored 1 in 19. And then Shane Long at Bournemouth at the moment. He scored 2 goals in February, which kind of, from an Irish perspective, almost puts him in form. The point is, of course, across the next, how many games in this group? 5 teams, 8 games. Across 8 games, these kind of 2 goals in 22, 1 goal in 19, we're going to need somebody to catch fire a little bit by comparison with the form they're showing at club level.
Yeah, no, listen, you've laid it out pretty well there, and this is the problem. Like, the Serbs are trying to figure out if they can accommodate Vlahovic, Fiorentina. He's 21 years of age, scored 12 goals in Serie A this season. Not necessarily even going to sure he's going to play. So that just puts it in context. Mitrovic as well is recognisable Premier League striker. They're not sure he'll even be picked for this game. So, like that's where we're at. I mean, listen, there are probably mitigating factors with some of those people. Robinson was having a reasonable season. Maybe the big Sam switch relegation battle hasn't suited him. He did play quite well for Ireland in Slovakia. That's the last time he played. He's missed the 5 games since then. Aaron Connolly has played 1 out of the last 6 games for Ireland too. And listen, he's had 1 or 2 disciplinary issues at Brighton and a little injury. Prior to that, he was at least involved regularly at Premier League level. He wasn't taking chances, but he has this ability to get into positions and be involved and be Aaron Connolly is a sort of he has a sort of thing about him, that when he plays in games, he tends to be involved in moments. We've even seen that with Ireland. Now his ability to convert them has been an issue. But there are, like, if you want to try and be positive about it, and so probably should really try and be somewhat positive about it, not all completely doom and gloom. Like, there are players there who can, like, they are sort of streaky, sparky players. That's maybe been a problem with their careers. Even you can throw Shane Long into that mix as well. And perhaps in some cases, if they're having a situation at club level where things haven't been going well, or maybe not happy with their manager, or they're not in the good books, or whatever it might be, maybe coming away for a couple of days just sort of ignites them, and like there have been times this season, where say Robinson and Connolly have looked like good players. It's been a while since that's happened, but they have at Premier League level like put in good performances, and the hope is that in some way, this change of scenery can help them. I think the problem though is that it's actually trying to figure out how they might actually fit into a side, like where they actually go in there. Like, I think there probably would have been a view a while back that Collins would be the player James Collins would be the player that would be the central striker, as sort of an experienced player, pretty match fit, albeit he's been on the bench recently. Yes, he's not dynamic. Not necessarily the most sort of mobile sort of player that in the sense that he'll stretch opposition, but he can sort of, he has a bit of presence about him. He can bring other players into it. I just wonder now, though, is he vulnerable just because he hasn't had a great run? And is the temptation that you actually try someone like an Aaron Connolly or a Robinson through the middle, which is different to the type of central player Ireland have played in that area, if you know what I mean. You're sort of playing without a real presence. It's more so their movement and their pace or trickery or whatever it might be that you're looking for that out ball, and that's difficult, because even I'm sure the midfield discussion would have been based around, say, Conor Hourihane and what he offers, and now you have to go in there without him, and it's about finding the balance between all those various players, and it's very hard, like, really to, like, obviously, like say, like, for example, the identity of your central striker will naturally be influenced by who you want to play as, say, the number 10 or the more advanced central midfielder. So you might have thought, okay, if you're someone like Collins who can hold the ball up, is Alan Brown running off him what you need? Whereas with Connolly, Robinson, do you need more of a, I don't know, creative option that can set them free? There's a lot to consider for him, a serious amount of options to consider for him.
Yeah, it's hard to predict this team. Be curious, Dan, who are your definites? Who'll almost certainly start in Serbia beyond Mark Travers?
Good question. Right, Seamus Coleman, I think will.
Yeah.
I think it's really is a given. And it's possible that Matt Doherty plays on the right side, but I wouldn't say that's a definite. You asked for definite, so I'd say Coleman's a definite. I'd say Kieran Clark would be a definite, and then I think it's between Darragh O'Shea and Shane Duffy. Say Enda Stevens is a definite. Whoa, there we go. I'd say Jeff Hendrick probably is now.
In fairness to Jeff Hendrick, again, if we're looking for positives, we saw a better Jeff Hendrick of late in an Irish jersey.
Yeah, he's had a bad time for it in Newcastle, but I think just with Hourihane being out, I just can't see him going with, say, I don't know, Cullen Malumbi, Alan Brown, or Cullen Jason Knight, Alan Brown, say. and I think they are the options. But I think Hendrick probably does play now, just maybe even a bit deeper.
Yeah.
So I'd say he's a definite. I honestly think beyond that, I'm not sure anyone else is a definite.
Aaron Connolly is just a case of where I would presume is a definite.
I would expect him to be in the 11, presuming he's fit. Like McLean, like you mentioned, there's a bit of a doubt around him. I think if he was 100% fit, I think he'd be pretty strong chance of involvement. But I think there's a big question mark over whether he's able to play 90 minutes, say. So I think they are. Yeah, I think that's all we've got there.
What's your sense, Dan, of Robbie Brady, who kind of came back into a bit of form and fitness towards the end of last year? And there would have been a time post Euro 2016, Hendrick and Robbie Brady. Now that feels increasingly like a long time ago. What's your sense on Brady, though? I'm thinking of technical players here with a bit of experience too.
Yeah, no, I think he's got a very good chance. I'd say he's an absolute search to get on the pitch during the game.
Yeah,
and you could be right. Like it's possible that, let's see what happens with McLean. Like it's possible that Brady could sort of play off the left. That he's left-sided. Like, you see, there's a sort of a debate over what they're going to expect from Serbia. Will they play three at the back, or not? What way are they going to approach it? Are you going to be in a situation where you're playing one of these teams where even if Ireland have say a 4-2-3-1, that there's a danger that they're sort of overrun in midfield? So do you need like your two wide players, in that 4-3-3 or whatever you want to call it? Do you need two that are, rather than being out and out wingers, that they're more comfortable coming in field to help out in that area? And that's where maybe like Brady, you see him involved. Like sometimes even someone like Jason Knight has played for the 21s for Kenny. He actually played on the right, but actually more narrow, if you get me. And then the width came from the fullbacks, and you wonder would you end up with something like that? Is that where you even see someone like Jason? I know I have a feeling it might be Matt Doherty doing that, but I'm basing that on a hunch, not basing that on information, I have to say. Would have had some ideas previously on what they were thinking, but I think they've probably been overtaken by events to some degree, and I think now like all bets are off to some degree. This is just a hunch, it's not information. I definitely am coming around to the view that Robinson will probably be involved, I think. But again, he can play anywhere across the front three. And I think Collins was a start to start probably until he lost his place at Luton, and now I'm not so sure.
Okay. It's worth stating the team obviously met in Manchester on yesterday, and they've departed for Serbia this afternoon. I presume they had a session earlier on today, and they'll have a session tomorrow night at the stadium, and that's it. So really kind of two proper on-field sessions, in so much as the one the night before the game is, and whatever they could do on Sunday, I'm sure not everybody was involved in whatever they did on Sunday. So the point I'm making is to expect some massive step forward on Wednesday based on the time Kenny has had with the team would be very unrealistic, or else those Zoom calls he's having with individuals go a long way. But that's the reality what he's working with here. I mean, for one of the most important games of the campaign to come first up like this, I mean, he would have desperately loved to swap it with the Qatar one and have two games in the build up to it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Listen, I think when the draw was made, I think it wasn't a bad draw, but the one thing that did stand out was this game being the first one. That with everything that's happened in the last while, he probably needed a bit of a lead in. Now, listen, people will scream at us here and say, well, Serbia have a new manager. They're going to have 2 training sessions with their new manager before the first game. They do have a better hand, in terms of players and form. But, I mean, in recent years, they've had good players and haven't necessarily delivered. So
I suppose the one point I'd make on that, and I accept the point if people do text that in, of course it is the same for Serbia. You suspect Kenny is trying to make more of a shift in terms of approach than the Serbian manager is.
Yeah, no, I guess so. Like, I mean, it's more with their side. It's almost like not quite an embarrassment to riches. That's maybe overstating it, but they've actually got a lot of attacking players, but they haven't necessarily found the way to use them. Like, okay. I mean, Serbia did, they did get knocked out of the Euros by Scotland.
Yeah.
After 120 minutes at home. Now they then hammered Russia 5-0 a couple of days later. They're a bit hot and cold. I know it's almost resorting to sort of cliche, but their recent history, they've qualified for like 3 World Cups in recent memories, but their Euros, since Ireland last qualified for one, yet their Euros record is very patchy. Like they occasionally have dreadful campaigns. So it's sort of there's an element of Jekyll and Hyde with them. But with Ireland, like there is, like there's obviously there's a dual strand to this. Like there's obviously the need to just try and have good results and be competitive, and the pressures that come with that, versus the need to try and we are talking about a project of some description here, and trying to be true to that. And I think to some degree, I mean, okay, Kieran Westwood wasn't available, but there's obviously a sense with Kenny that if he's got marginal calls about stuff, it's probably better for him that he if things are going to be difficult, that you try Travers, you try, you get Parrott involved, Jason Knight, and you have to balance it up against, well, we want these players to get experience of these type of games because that's going to stand to the future, but also you can't just, there will be people who won't be patient with Stephen Kenny if results remain bad. So there's obviously, you have to balance both of those things. And I think we've touched on this before in the show. People will say, well, he just needs to get back to basics for the sake of it. But I'm not sure if people necessarily know what that means. I'm not necessarily sure if he has the old dogs for the hard road in the squad that, like, in theory, you say, well, okay, you get all the bodies behind the ball on Wednesday and see what happens. Yeah. But I don't know if Ireland necessarily have an informed defence and, like, the absolute reliable big man that you can lump it up to actually execute the alternative game plan that people might call towards. And it may well be that the best way of getting a result, or the best chance of getting a result, is by trying to stick to some of the principles that Stephen Kenny is trying to introduce. But like that won't be palatable if it goes badly wrong. I guess what I'm saying, there's just no. I think a lot of managers would struggle with the hand going into this game, and I don't think he has like the safe conveyances there that absolutely guarantee you get a result by sort of playing in an uglier way, if you know what I mean.
I know what you mean exactly.
That's the problem.
Yeah, no,
that's the real problem from
on paper not been the greatest of build-ups. We can say that. So we'll see how things go. Dan McDonnell of the Irish Independent. Cheers, Dan. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Joe.
Thanks a million. Our football coverage on Off the Ball is with thanks to Paddy Power, and we have a special tomorrow, by the way, building up to the game against Serbia. So it'll be on FM. If you're just an FM listener, then tune in tomorrow and you'll get all this stuff. But from 2 o'clock on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, the OTB Sports app, we have a preview with Gary Breen and Kevin Kilban and Stephanie Roach. There'll be a crappy quiz. And Danny Murphy of Liverpool and other places going to join us as well for an in-depth chat about his career. So that's all on the way tomorrow afternoon on our social channels, and then tomorrow evening on FM. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblingcare.ie.
Football on Off the Ball
with Paddy Power. Only the cream of the crop pick up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie. Let's take a mindful moment on News Talk.
I'm Keith Barry. Creative visualization is a fantastic way to attain mind mastery. Simply close your eyes and visualize the moment in your life when you are happiest. See it clearly in your mind's eye. Then squeeze the first 2 fingers and thumb of one of your hands together. This will act as an anchor, and anytime you want to trigger that memory and those feelings, simply squeeze the first 2 fingers and thumb together again, and that will release the feel-good hormones into your body.
Another mindful moment from News Talk.
At Guaranteed Irish, we believe enterprise is at the heart of thriving communities.
Did you know Sudocream's name came from the Irish pronunciation of soothing cream? Still manufactured by Teva in Baldoyle today, Sudocream has been soothing skin since 1931, making it a staple in Irish households whilst also supporting Irish jobs. Guaranteed Irish welcomes companies that are altogether better choices for our communities. So look out for it. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Hang on, I think Mark's Wi-Fi is down.
Mark?
I think he's frozen.
We know he's frozen, Miles. He's not moving.
No, I think he's actually frozen solid.
Working from home this winter? Make sure those heating bills don't bite. Switch to Energia's cheapest dual fuel bundle and save even more. See energia.ie. Energia, the power behind your savings. EAB €1,413 based on average annual usage. 12-month contract, discounted unit rate, standing charge, BSO levy and carbon tax, T's and C's and early termination fee apply. Valid from February 2021 and subject to change. Verification and T's and C's at energia.ie/EAB.
Picture yourself on a stunning beach in Connemara, gazing up at the 12 Bends, hiking in the national park, scenic walks and cycling the Connemara Greenway. Now imagine yourself at Ballynahinch Castle, enjoying all this and 700 acres of natural beauty. Surround yourself with space this summer at Ballynahinch Castle. Book now at ballynahinchcastle.com.
Plan now for your business to reopen with Sanitization, proven to eliminate 99.9% of COVID-19 and other well-known viruses. Our portable sanitization system is trusted by many industries, construction, retail, transportation and more to protect staff, customers and visitors. Plan now with Sanitization. Available to rent or purchase, see sanitysystem.ie.
Off the ball. This is News Talk.
You're welcome back. Now, any smokers out there, March is quit month. So for the last couple of weeks on Off the Ball, we have been following the journey of the Republic of Ireland kitman, Fergus McNally. So Fergus is trying to give up smoking with the HSE quit team. Here he is on OTB AM.
In terms of actually being able to do it this time, what's the difference? Why do you feel more confident this time? Why have you made it past your 28 days?
I think it is the fact that we're in lockdown. I think the fact that there is no real temptations to buy a cigarette. For me to have a cigarette means I'd have to go to the garage, leave my house and buy them, rather than bumming off a fella in the pub or at the side of a match or whatever, you know. So that it's definitely the lockdown. And I'd encourage people